Welcome to another OU Insider YouTube Live. My name is Brandon Drumm. I'm here with Parker Thune, and Spencer Forsythe is on the other end of this he basically produces this bad boy each and every week for y'all. So you guys need to thank him each and every week for putting this on. He is the man behind the madness when it comes to all of our technical stuff.
He's been the one fighting the battles with big tech to get us on the air tonight.
Yes, he has. 100%. Look, big weekend ahead for Oklahoma on the recruiting trail. You obviously have pro days going on, or the NFL Combine going on. Pro days next week at Oklahoma. Then you got spring break rolling around, and then guess what happens after spring break? Spring football, baby. Spring football kicks off, and then there's a big March 25th and 26th junior day that is going to roll around again for the 2024 class, specifically that day, with sprinkled in some 2023 guys as well during that weekend. But first and foremost, this weekend is one of the biggest junior days I can remember in a while. I mean, it's hovering on like Champ U barbecue level, kind of, as far as like talent that is coming in. Ashton Kozart texted me earlier today confirming that he's going to be there. He was unsure because he had he has Margin Hooks' Under Armour camp combine that's coming up obviously on Sunday. Unsure about getting back and forth, but he texted me and said, "Hey, look, I'm bringing my guys with me." So Jaquazi Petaway and Michael Harrison Pilot are coming with him, and he says they're there to rock, and we'll see what happens. I mean, he's recruiting hard for Oklahoma, so we'll see what happens there on that front. But we have a long list on OU Insider VIP that there's additions and subtractions every day.
And that I think more than anything, that's probably due to the fact that I think how impressed we are with the length of the list probably has a lot to do with the fact that the previous two springs have had to necessarily be very light in terms of or completely absent on-campus recruiting visits because of COVID-19. But COVID-19 is officially canceled as of today. The NFL struck down all of their COVID protocols, and if Roger Goodell says no more COVID, that's who I roll with.
Well, the president is doing that as well. Don't get political, people. He's doing it as well. I guess they're striking down all the mask mandates and stuff across the country right now. We're gonna get our lives back. Full sports back. We did interviews this week or today, live and in person, with coaches, unmasked interviews. I was pretty happy about that. I'm not going to lie. It was awesome. And let me tell everybody about how awesome this new staff is. Parker, can you help? You're better with words than I am as far as, I guess your vernacular is a little bit better than mine. Well, way better than mine. Not a little bit, way better than mine. What was the word I used to you when they were talking? I said something like this staff is very oh my gosh, what was the word I used? It wasn't riveting. It was more like when they get your attention. They look, whether it was Coach Valai, whether it was Coach Chavis, whether it was Coach Hall, Coach Bates, the new guys, we've seen obviously Coach Biedenbow, who's really good in front of the media. We know Kel Gundy is really good in front of the media, and so is DeMarco Murray. Like, we understand that. Joe John Finley, he said some really good things. Like, you could tell, like, kind of the weight was lifted off all the previous coaches' shoulders with the media. They were just like, oh, I get to finally just be myself in front of everybody. And it was awesome. They're engaging. Engaging was the word I used, and they were very engaging.
That they were. And top to bottom, really, like you said, really impressed with all of these Oklahoma assistants. And you did kind of get the sense, particularly with the guys that have been around and were part of the old staff and are part of the new staff, that everything just seemed a whole lot less stressful to them. The interactions with the media seemed a lot more easy, I suppose. And that I guess it has more to do with the fact that with Brent Venables at the helm, they aren't keeping secrets about anything. Right? Everything is very transparent, and that's by design. That's what Venables wants. That's the mission and the culture that he's instilled within his program, is just being honest, being upfront, being transparent. And that's what we got from every assistant coach today. Really impressed with what Todd Bates brought to the table. We got to talk to him right off the bat. They were given to us in alphabetical order. So you start with the B's. It was Bates and Beatonbow that we got to hear from first. And I thought it was interesting. Todd Bates' first comment out of his mouth was, "I never lost a freestyle when I was at Alabama." He said his old teammate Wallace Gilberry might have something to say about that, but that's kind of the impetus behind the rhymes that he puts out on social media and the little verses that he'll tweet from time to time. He rhymes, he freestyles, and it's become part of his brand. It's become part of the thing that recruits appreciate about him. And it's pretty clear that while Todd Bates might not be the most outspoken, most exuberant member of the coaching staff, he's someone that commands respect from anybody that he interacts with.
Yeah, look, there, the whole rhyming thing, the rapping, freestyling. I've seen a video of Coach Chavis as well. I don't know if you've seen it, where like he's at the table. Have you seen it? He like walks off.
No, I have not.
Oh, it was really good. It was actually really good. So I would love to see those two kind of battle. I want to do a presser where we have them get up there and do a freestyle in front of us.
I'm sure they have freestyled against each other before, because that was one thing Chavis said, was he and Bates were tight as it gets at Clemson. He said they called him salt and pepper. So Chavis, man, it's so funny because we've been talking for a couple months now about what a slam dunk hire Miguel Chavis is. And what we got out of him today at the press conference only lent more credence to that notion. 100%. Very upfront. I thought it was really cool that he mentioned he spent 3 years in ministry as a youth pastor between his stint in the NFL and his coaching career. And his faith drives everything he does. It's so evident in the way he carries himself, and he's not shy about it. Every single answer that he gives, every single question that he's asked, everything he's asked to elaborate on, it comes back to God's plan, God's timing, God's kindness. And much like Todd Bates and the rhymes, Miguel Chavis has made that portion of his identity part of his identity as a recruiter. And it's become part of his brand when he interacts with prospects. And it's, I think the most compelling thing about this staff is that everybody has their own different flavor in a certain sense. These aren't 11 guys cut from the exact same cloth. These are 11 guys that have some baseline similarities, but all complement each other, whether in personality or demeanor or coaching philosophy, very, very well.
Yeah, no, you can tell, like, when they get up there and they talk or speak, you can tell, knowing what we know about Brent Venables and what we've known about Brent Venables for over 2 decades, they fit in what you would expect a Brent Venables staff to be like every one of them, whether it's their personality, whether it's their faith, whether it's their drive, the standard in which they uphold not just themselves, but everybody else around them, the relationship aspect of it all. That's who they are. That's who this staff is. And I felt like today was pretty much the first time I've ever walked away from an OU presser and went, yeah, this staff has got some juice to it. Like, we knew the previous staff was talented, but you never really thought that everybody was on the same page all the time. You can tell they're on the same page. And then when when Joe John brought out the number of staffers that were around, where he said there's like 40, 45, 50 staffers, around. And I followed up with the question of, so what's that like? And he said, I've never seen anything like it around here. It was needed. It's what was needed to take that next step. The kids are always going to have somebody they can lean on. Not everybody's going to be, not all 50 staffers are going to be busy with their hands tied at all times. So the amount of staffers that they hired was due to several different things, relationships, to relieve some stress off of the position coaches, helping recruiting, all that type of stuff, and to help out with the on-campus players and their situations, because there's always something going. When you got 100 kids, teenagers and kids in their early 20s roaming around the university and the facilities, there's always something going on that needs fixed, right? Personality wise, maybe their relationship, maybe they're struggling in class. It doesn't matter. But that means there's somebody that's there to help them. And then the soul mission, they kept pounding that home. The soul mission, the soul mission, the soul mission. I think that is going to probably be the best recruiting tool Oklahoma has. Because when a parent walks in there tomorrow into Norman and they start talking about and have proof, it's not just a coach sitting there saying, oh, well, we're all about, after this, and we're all about this, and we're all about that, and we're here for your growth as a person and all that. That's just talk. They've got substance to back it up. And they've got 3 staffers that are there 24/7 right next to the locker rooms waiting on them if they need anything.
And I think Joe John Finley put it very well when he said, look, every guy in that locker room thinks he's going to be an NFL guy someday, but they're not. Not all of them are. Some of them will make it that far, and some of them will be cashing those big checks that set them up for the rest of their lifetime. But the reality is, for the vast majority of players that come through the University of Oklahoma, football is, I suppose, their football journey at Oklahoma is close to, if not the absolute last football they're going to play. And they have an entire life ahead of them, and they need to be prepared for that outside of what they're learning on the football field and how they're developing physically. And that is the heart behind the soul mission. And I think the other thing that Oklahoma has tried to do that we heard mentioned today is you've got guys of all different ages involved in the soul staff. So you have Caleb Kelly, who's 23, 24. So you got a young guy. You've got Curtis Lofton, who's in his 30s. Josh Norman is in his 40s now. So really you have just about every single generation of young adulthood represented, young adulthood to middle age. And so I think that is just another facet of the soul department, I suppose you would call it, that's going to appeal to these players and is going to serve them better in the long run. I had something else to add, and now I'm completely spacing on it. I really don't know what I was going to, it was revolutionary. I couldn't wait to get it off my tongue, but now for the life of me, I can't remember what it is.
Was it that revolutionary, or you just, you feeling yourself on that?
No, I was going to put it on Twitter and tag the Make It a Quote Twitter account so that I could get a graphic.
Oh, wow.
No, I'm playing, but gosh, for the life of what
very confident
what
in yourself right now. The coaches?
We were talking about the coaches. We were talking about the off-field analysts.
Yeah. And I think people ask, like, if the wide receiver, if Gundy has help. Yes, LaDamian Washington. He's the assistant. He's the wide receiver assistant. He's the assistant wide receiver coach. So instead of being the wide receiver assistant coach, how would I word that? How would you word that? He is he's support staff, obviously. He would be an assistant to the wide receiver coach. That's how I would say. He's the assistant to the wide receiver coach and an offensive analyst. So
he's Kale's Dwight Schrute, basically.
Correct.
Assistant to the wide receiver coach.
Yes, yes. And there's a lot of those on there. There's an assistant to the defensive back coach, which is Xavier Brewer. There is an assistant to the. There's so many guys. I mean, it's hard. It's hard to really quantify. And I think there's probably 10 analysts or something. I don't know. There's a lot, right?
Yeah, that list
There's
is getting big.
People are like, can you name all of them? No, I can't name all of them. I don't off the top of my head. Are you kidding me?
If only we could.
Yeah, no, that's what we're trying to convey to you guys is there's literally like 50 guys on staff. Like, no, I don't want to say like that's the exact number, but there's a bunch. There's close to 40 at least on staff. And back with the previous staff, it's doubled. It's doubled in size. And they talked about it like when Gundy. Were you there when Gundy, or had you already left when Gundy came through?
Yeah, Gundy was the first one that I was absent for. So
he talked about Thad Turnipseed, who is what's his title?
Miguel Chavis called him the boss.
Yeah, well, correct. He is the boss, and that was an acronym. And they had what it stand for, but he couldn't remember what they call it. What
I believe his official title is Director of Football Operations with some more
Executive Director of
designation.
Football Administration.
Okay, there you go.
Yep. So anyways, they were talking, Kel Gundy was talking about it. And even whenever you ask Gundy, his response, his face went like this when they said, talk about that Turnipseed. And he goes, like this guy he's the man. Like it goes Venables, Thad Turnipseed, and if you want to get the Venables, you got to go through Thad Turnipseed to get there. He helped create. This is you guys are gonna love this, Oklahoma fans. That Turnipseed's the mastermind behind Alabama football at its current state. He helped create that. So him and J.R. Sandlin apparently were. So J.R. Sandlin was part of the creation of how they recruit and evaluate and like all that type of stuff. And there's layers to all of it. And that Turnipseed's the program aspect of it, the locker rooms, the amount of coaches and assistant coaches that are around, and who they're for and what they're for. He helps with the donors and raising the money and pushing, what can be done and can't be done as far as recruiting and all that type of stuff, deals with the compliance aspect of it. So when things need to be done with the compliance, that Turnipseed's the one that goes in there and does the talking with all them. So there's a lot that guy does. He's all encompassing. Like that's why they call him the boss. B period, O period, S period, S period, the boss. And Kel Gundy said when he walked through, he goes, he had heard all of this stuff about that Turnipseed and everything that he stood for, traveling around with Coach Venables. And he said, he goes, the first time he ever met him in person, he's like, we can knock this wall down and have 4 cubicles over here for a couple of staff members. We can knock this wall down over here for another 4. This office can be shrank a little bit, add a couple cubicles there, blah, 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 to get everybody they need to help build the program and what they want to do. And then they have, and they're doing it in steps. So they got the staffers, they're redoing the locker rooms right now. They're adding to the training tables. They got the new chefs plural. They got a lead chef, but they got multiple guys. They got new nutrition people. They have sports science people. They have an assistant. The assistant strength and conditioning coach, who was one of the head guys at Nebraska, is now the assistant at Oklahoma. That's the type of money Oklahoma's throwing around right now. Contrary to popular belief that Oklahoma doesn't have money, according to a report going to the SEC, the amount of staffers they have and have hired and how much they're paying people totally it's kind of, contrary to that, right? It doesn't make a lot of sense. Do we want to touch on that?
What, the report that Oklahoma's poor?
They sure are throwing a lot of money out for a poor program, right?
Oh man, it's not even. And the thing about it is, like, even if Oklahoma were poor, the SEC or someone with a vested financial interest in Oklahoma's move to the SEC would pony up the dough to make it happen.
Yeah, this seems like a complete excuse for the move not happening, and they're trying to pose it like it's Oklahoma's problem. Something tells me, and I'm just spitballing here, there's one program that I kind of know is ready to move and would probably be somewhat successful, and it ain't Austin. I'm just gonna say that. Am I wrong?
You are not.
Okay, then. We're done talking about that subject.
Okay, we should probably leave it at that.
Yeah, because that you and I will open up our mouths too much. Me specifically. You're like, yes, that's true. We're gonna not let you do that. Anyways, so this weekend, huge weekend, folks. I mean, my gosh. I look. I, we're doing 50% off on OUinsider.com, so I don't want to give everything away, but I'm going to do my way too early 2023 class predictions, and hopefully they'll either be dropped tomorrow afternoon or Saturday morning leading into the big weekend. So you guys will get just a plethora. Like this is source stuff that I now, it's way early. It's probably going to change quite a bit throughout the whole recruitment, but you'll get to see
As
who we
things do.
feel. Yeah, it's recruiting. It's what happens. But you'll get to see what I'm hearing. I just got back from Georgia and Florida, mind you, and we're around a bunch of Alabama, South Carolina, Georgia, Florida, Tennessee, whatever. I was around a bunch of people, went all over Texas as well and Oklahoma. So I've been around, and after all my travels, I'm trying to put, after all the offers, who I think Oklahoma will end up with come December 15th, 2022. And I think you guys will like what you see quite a bit. And mind you, it's way too early. So there's a lot that's going to change, but it's who I would predict right now, to be in that class. But some of those will be on campus tomorrow. One person that is on campus right now is Dijon Johnson, the 2023 four-star defensive back out of Miami, Florida. Source talked to me today, said that's one big son of a gun. He is a big guy. He's exactly what you would expect of an SEC-style defensive back. So with that said, Parker, we know Dijon Johnson's on campus tomorrow. More people will start to show up in the evening and night, and then Saturday and Sunday, the ball's going to get rolling. What are you most looking forward to right now with this big Junior Day Part 2 that's showing up?
I'll tell you what, the easy answer 48 hours ago would have been a commitment from Dylan Edwards, and oh boy, that changed in a hurry. We discussed this on the podcast last night, but we should probably rehash it here. That whole situation has gotten very bizarre as of late. And of course, Dylan Edwards now plans on visiting Arkansas this weekend rather than Oklahoma. And from what we know, that took everybody by surprise, including people in Dylan Edwards' inner circle. They had no idea that the Arkansas visit was within the realm of possibility or even happening. You look like you have something to say here, Brandon.
Well, you remember I told you I'd ask around and see what I could find out on that situation. I think Oklahoma would love to take Dylan Edwards, but with who they have coming up and coming in over the next month or two, I'm going to say that that's not the biggest deal in the world that he doesn't show up, I guess. And I'll just leave it at that.
Well, yeah, I mean, certainly you've got Richard Young on campus this weekend, arguably the biggest name among the weekend visitors. Obviously, Oklahoma's in a really good spot with Trey Wisner out of Waco Connolly. And then you have Justice Haynes, whom you reported, Brandon, is going to be visiting later in March, the four-star running back out of Roswell, Georgia. So Oklahoma has a diversity of options at the running back position. Dylan Edwards isn't a make or break guy for them. But at the same time, you look at what he put on tape up at Derby. He's a guy that you would like to have. if you have the room to take him. So I don't know, maybe things start to trend back in Oklahoma's direction here, but as of right now, Dylan Edwards headed to Arkansas instead of OU this weekend. And that definitely puts a damper on the over-under commitment total that we set at 2.5 earlier in the week. So
Yeah,
for now, I would probably take the under. And I don't think this weekend is as much about landing commitments as it is about making strong first impressions on so many of these guys. And talk about the likes of Dijon Johnson, who comes from the state of Florida and has never set foot in Oklahoma before. Another new 4-star in PJ Adebawore, who also has not been to campus, but that has a very good rapport with Brent Venables and Miguel Chavis and the Oklahoma staff. And that's a guy that they're prioritizing on the recruiting.
Is his teammate Edric Hill?
His teammate is Edric Hill. Yep.
I wouldn't be shocked if he got an offer, by the way. Just
I would be I feel like I would be shocked if he didn't get an offer.
I know that's what I'm saying. My gut tells me that's happening.
Yeah. So those are two guys to keep an eye on, the teammates out of North Kansas City.
You think they could
top
commit?
to bottom on this list? You're talking about a couple of another new 4-star, Darion Gillette, the versatile linebacker out of the state of Texas, Marlin High School. Samaje Burrell is a 3-star, but trending in a blue chip direction right now. That's another guy that's going to be on campus. So I know the concern right now is that Oklahoma seems to be solely focused on securing elite defensive talent rather than focusing on the offensive side of the ball. At least that's the concern that I've seen regurgitated on ROU Insider VIP board over the last couple of days. And to that, I would say, we're talking about the University of Oklahoma here. Offensive recruiting has never been a bugaboo for this program in any capacity. And we were just talking about all the options they have at the running back position. They've got their quarterback committed, and he could be a 5-star by the time it's all said and done.
Yeah,
they're in a great place with a number of blue chip wide receivers. And then you take a look at the offensive line. They're in a great position to land Kaden Green, and he could be the cornerstone of this offensive line group in the class of 2023 for Bill Bedenbaugh. And once you get him on board, he's going to recruit other guys to come with him. So as long as you're able to stave off the advances of Michigan and Baylor for Kaden Green, you're going to be in fine shape as far as the offensive line is concerned. So to me, I don't know that there is a position group on the offensive side of the ball that I'm worried about in terms of Oklahoma's recruiting efforts in the class of 2023. No. And again, a lot can change between now and signing day. This is the world of recruiting. Stuff changes on a dime. You don't need to look any further than the visitor list that we've been compiling throughout the week and have progressively had to add kids to and drop kids off of because of the way that things evolve. And that said, at this point in time, I think if your concern is that Oklahoma's not recruiting well enough on the offensive side of the football, and just take a look at the Oklahoma's history recruiting the offensive side of the ball in the modern recruiting era. You don't even have to limit that search to the 5-year span in which the previous head coach was in place at Oklahoma. You can look far beyond that. Go back to the mid to late 2000s even. Oklahoma has never had trouble recruiting offensive talent, whether that's in the trenches or a quarterback or the skill positions. That is the least of OU's concerns in my eyes.
Yeah, no, look, just when you look at it, I mean, you already got Ashton Kozart. You've already 3 of the 4 commits are offensive guys right now. Are you going to show everybody how fast you can do a Rubik's Cube? Is that what we're doing now? Because of the question.
I'm just going to do this while you're talking, because one of the listeners, I guess, or one of the viewers made a comment that they bet I didn't solve this. So I'll scramble it and resolve it just for you. Sooner West is the username. This is for you.
He's putting you on blast. All right. I'm going to get I think this is just excellent television that we can just watch you do it. You're not even going to look at him. The no look. Oh my gosh. Dude, he just dropped his nut sack on whoever said that to him. He just said, I'm doing
okay, that's the scrambling. While you're talking, Brandon, I will restore it.
Okay. So yeah. 3 of the 4 commits are offensive guys. So for me personally, when you look at Jaquazi Petaway that's coming in, Michael Harris Pilot that's coming in, uh, obviously Richard Young, there's a lot of really talented offensive guys that are going to be on campus. And isn't it funny? I think this is probably the most ironic thing ever that we went from the boards griping about the lack of defensive recruiting prioritizing to, are they prioritizing defense too much? Like, what's going on here? And you got Kaden. It just cracks me up. It's like you can't have one and the other, or they can't do both. It's too much one way or not enough the other. It's funny that now Oklahoma is going to be seen as like this defensive program overnight because of who their head coach is, and they don't know what they're doing as far as offensive recruiting goes. When they have Caden Green, Richard Young, and these are 4 and 5 stars, mind you, Miles McVeigh, Wilkin Formby, uh, Joshua Bates, who's committed to Oklahoma. I mean, there's just a list of Isaiah Mosey, who's 2025 wide receiver out of the Kansas City area, who is going to be probably a 5-star when it's all said and done. So, I mean, they know what they're doing. And then when you go and you look at, I guess I need to pull up the who we have coming in on the 26th. I mean, if y'all really want to see a list, for those of you that aren't on OU Insider VIP, look, our VIP members have known this stuff for a long time. So this is like, for them, this is old hat. They've seen who the VIP who the list is for 2026, and I won't name all of them because I don't think that's fair. We have members that pay, so I'll give you a few other names coming on 26, or at least who have confirmed to me so far, and Parker, that are coming right now, and that is 5-star defensive back Caleb Downs, 5-star running back Justice Haynes, 5-star defensive lineman Derek LeBlanc, 4-star wide receiver Kyler Casper, 4-star running back 2024 4-star running back Stacey Cage, 2024 defensive lineman Heaven Brown Schuler. Wow, look at him. He didn't even flinch. He just went straight into the conversation to pay attention here. 4-star defensive back Jalen Mbakwe, obviously 4-star defensive back Kenyon Kelly, 5-star 2024 defensive lineman T.A. Cunningham, and the list goes on and on and on. I mean, this is the stuff you all have asked for years. Why aren't they getting these elite defensive linemen to visit? It's happening now. Peter Woods was supposed to be here this weekend. He flipped and changed it, visiting Alabama, but Parker and I can both 100% confirm to you he was on the list up until 3 days ago.
And if he would have gone to Oklahoma instead of Alabama this weekend, oh boy, that would have turned things on their heads down there in the Southeast.
It would have. It would have. I actually talked to somebody today from Alabama that covers it on a day-to-day basis that said Peter Woods will visit Oklahoma most likely. So it's happening. Unless he commits this weekend to Alabama, they fully expect him to visit. Are they saying something that's funny about your Rubik's Cube?
They're always saying something that's funny.
Yeah, it's just, look, this is the type of talent that you all have died for Oklahoma to be recruiting on the defensive side of the ball, and it's happening now. And now it's like, oh, they're not recruiting offensive guys very well. Like, what? 3 of your 4 commits are top offensive guys.
Oh man, one of my favorite.
One of them's almost a 5-star quarterback.
One of my favorite threads of the year thus far on our OU Insider VIP board was one of our VIPs jumped on, started a new topic thread, and said, basically, where the heck is Jeff Lebby? I haven't heard his name at all with regard to recruiting. And then immediately another VIP jumped on and said, yeah, in the last 6 weeks, all he's done is recruit and sign Nick Evers, Jaden Gibson, and Jackson Arnold. I hope he steps it up soon.
What a waste. Oh, by the way, he's also in on one of the reasons why Oklahoma is in on Peyton Bowen. There's a backstory to that that I think one of the DCs or somebody grew up around Jeff Lebby, very close friend of Jeff Lebby on that staff. So if Peyton Bowen becomes a Sooner at some point, that wouldn't shock either one of us, honestly. That recruitment is wide open. Cube done. It is. They called you Yoda, so I did my best Yoda voice.
Oh man, but no, Peyton Bowen for being committed. Yes, his recruitment is about as wide open as it gets. Kind of not unlike.
That's not what he says publicly, though.
No, it's not what he says publicly, but
no.
it doesn't take a whole lot of Yoda.
Yes, Sean, they just got into. He says they have to start landing them. They have the past the defense. Go look at the roster on defense right now. This is I'm pretty positive this is Cowboys, OU Cowboy fan or whatever. I don't know. Like, I guess he lives in the SEC territory, so it's. I love you, Sean, but man, yeah, they've recruited well on defense for like the last 3 years. That's why you see 11 guys for the most part. They're on the defensive side of the ball that are at the NFL Combine right now. That doesn't happen because they're not.
I think both you and I would concur, Brandon, that Oklahoma's going to get a commitment from a blue chip defensive lineman here in the next 4 or 5 weeks.
Yeah, there's a pretty good opportunity here for Oklahoma to. I talked to a guy today that just happened to be the person you're referencing, and said, if things go the way he thinks it is, he's going to be done with his recruitment sometime in the middle of March, maybe. We'll see. Now it has to happen first, and he will show up on the visit. Like, that's going to happen. We both know that. The commitment part is another thing. It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, he will be committed to Oklahoma. Like, he is not going anywhere but Oklahoma, and he is one of the top players in the country at his position in the 2024 class.
And if you follow him on social media, it's no secret to anyone watching who we're talking about.
Yeah, it's no secret at all. And then you have Jacoby Johnson. You have Micah Tease. Like, these are the elite guys you all wanted. Oklahoma, looks like they're going to be landing a lot of them. David Hicks, Oklahoma has a really good chance with. Like, I get it. Like, you want Oklahoma to land him, but getting on to a staff that's been around for literally 2.5 months is not fair. And saying they got to start doing this stuff. Start doing what? They were landing all these guys when they were at their other places. That's why they're here. That's why they were hired. So eventually it'll get to that point. Give them a little bit more than, a month and 2.5. What is it? A month and a half since National Signing Day ended. Since the 2022 cycle is over. It's been what, a month and a half?
4 weeks.
4 weeks. Give them more than 4 weeks after the 2022 class ended. And lo and behold, let's all remember, Sean, again, I love you, but let's remember they beat out everybody for R. Mason Thomas. Like, Miami came in there. All these schools came in. LSU, they all came in and were recruiting him late, just like Oklahoma, because he came on late and became one of the best players in the country. That's why he skyrocketed up the rankings. They pulled that one off. I'm pretty positive. I feel like they're going to do well. That's just me. They went and beat out everybody for Jeffrey Johnson. Alabama, LSU, Georgia, they all wanted Jeffrey Johnson. So same with Jonah Lulua. They all wanted Jonah Lulua. Same SEC teams. They all offered him. He's in Norman. So they've already done that. They're going to continue to do it. I believe they will, because I think this staff is a better defensive recruiting staff than the previous staff. And that's not a dig at the previous staff. I'll put you like this. The previous staff had all the talent. They recruited really well on the defensive side of the ball. That's why there's the talent. The cupboard does not bear for Venables at all. Like, there's a lot of talent on that defensive side. Developing is a little different story, though, right? Like, that's where the issue lies. And Perion Winfrey's coming out and said it. I mean, he came out and said it basically.
I didn't say it's not a secret.
No, Jamar Cain developed. We saw that with Perkins. You saw that with Benito. I think Calvin Thibodeau developed defensive linemen. I think play calling hindered all of those guys.
I think there's a very good chance Oklahoma fans look back on that 2021 season a few years down the road and think, man, what could have been if Venables and his staff had gotten to town 1 year earlier? Because the amount of talent that Oklahoma has competing in the NFL Combine right this second is remarkable. It's the second most of any program in college football. They have 11 guys at the Combine this weekend. And 3 of those guys, Perion Winfrey, Nick Benito, Isaiah Thomas, all probably going to be off the board by the end of day 2. Those guys were all within the exact same position group. They were all on your defensive front 4.
Yeah.
Ryan Asamoah is a guy that's shooting off draft boards after his performance at the Senior Bowl. Mike Woods just ran a 4.5 in the 40-yard dash.
Mm-hmm.
Delarian Turner-Yell, Jeremiah Hall, Marquise Hayes, all guys that have a chance to rise based on how they perform at the Combine, even though they may be projected in the latter half of the draft at the moment. So the amount of talent that Oklahoma had on their roster in 2021 left no excuse for the former staff for this team to perform the way that they did.
Second most invitees behind Georgia.
And what did Georgia do? Remind me, Brandon.
They won a national title. They did the exact opposite of what Oklahoma did this past year. Though I think you saw during the game, I know people want to say, well, Oregon was missing people. If you go and look at the NFL Combine invitees, Oregon wasn't missing near as much as Oklahoma. And yet Oklahoma's backups were damn good in that game, which tells you that there's a chance that Oklahoma could be quite nice this year on the football field, unbeknownst to the rest of the national media, because according to them, Oklahoma is not even going to field the team from what it sounds like. I mean, that's kind of what the word we're getting, right? Like, their Venables is going to be awful. They're going to lose 4 or 5 games, man. That's what they say.
I'm curious to see how the narrative progresses over the course of the offseason, because you know what? There's a chance that by August, maybe those exact same media members are picking Oklahoma to win the Big 12. I would pick Oklahoma to win the Big 12 right now, because again, I'll rehash a point I've been making all week, and I think I said it last night on the podcast. Every football team needs 3 fundamental things in order to be successful. You have to have talent, you have to have culture, and you have to have coaching. Talent is not the issue for Oklahoma. It has not been and will not be the issue. Right now, despite all the turnover, they have the most talented roster in the Big 12. I would say by a significant margin, if you look at what they have at their disposal. And so if you're confident that you're going to have top of the line coaching, which Oklahoma will, I think that's pretty undeniable, and you're confident in where the culture is headed under Brent Venables, this team doesn't have a conspicuous weakness. And that's not to say that they're going to run roughshod over the Big 12, but that is to say that there is definite reason for optimism that, and my camera feed is gone.
Yeah.
But there is definite reason for optimism that this team is going to be just as good in 2022, if not better than they were in 2021.
My personal opinion on all this is that we got a taste of kind of the culture aspect of it today during the pressers. And I know it's kind of like the porch, you're going to see they showed us the porch, right? They showed us all the shiny culture and the good attitudes from the coaches and everything that they're going to be that you're back. Everything that they're going to be, as far as what they're going to teach and the standard they're going to uphold and the uncommon man and all that stuff. We saw we got the front porch view of everything today at the presser, right? Um, but I think there's more meat to that. I think there's more substance to that. And what I mean by that is you're talking you think they could be better than they were last year, even though the talent isn't as I'm not going to say there's not as much talent. It's definitely not as experienced.
I think the talent will be better utilized. That's the
That
distinction
that's
I'm
where I
making.
was trying to get to. Yeah, that's where I was getting to. That's what I'm saying. Like, because the culture is going to be bought into, there's not going to be this rift between the team like there was last year a little bit. I mean, you could tell, everybody could tell there was kind of a line in the sand, right? And you're either on 7 side or 13 side kind of deal. Now they bought into Caleb as the season went on. And a lot of guys bought into him instantly. But there was a sect of the group that still felt that way about Rattler. You
By
and
the
I
way, did
both know that.
you see the shade that Rattler threw at
I know. I was
his
getting to
his
that. Yeah,
ex
I was just
coach
getting to
today?
that. Yeah. I was getting to that. And therein lies when you have a player that has the ear of several of the players and he's pissed and talking, well, that can shake some things up behind the scenes a little bit. And I don't look, Rattler wasn't meaning to, and I don't think that's kind of what the shade that he threw is probably how he felt all season. Right. And I'm sure there were teammates that knew that he felt that way. As a matter of fact, I'm almost 99%, almost all of them knew he felt that way. And whether everybody wants to believe it or not, that has a underlying effect on things. And then when you add what we know now of Lincoln kind of tapping out, or at least perceived to have tapped out around Baylor, it all makes sense.
I'll tell you what, if you dig through recent Twitter activity, you will find that there are more than a couple of players that were on that roster in 2021 and or are on that roster heading into 2022 that believe Lincoln Riley lost the Bedlam game on purpose so he could get out to USC quicker. I'm not
Mhm.
sure if I buy that. I'm just saying there are people that are.
I had some pretty high up people that feel that way too, kind of. Because he had the thing in the bag, like they were going to blow him out. They were up by what, 2 touchdowns at one point, right? 10
I think their
points,
biggest lead was 9 points.
9, 10 point, 9, 10. Okay, yeah, 9. But they were up 2 scores, right? So they were up 2 scores, and they were driving, and all of a sudden, everything changed the way they called the offense in the middle of a drive, and it was never the same.
And I get that, but at the same time, I also don't believe like you can't make Eric Gray drop a punt at the 5 yard line.
No,
You can't
no,
make
that
you
yeah.
can't make the referee hold on to his flag when Trayvon West gets blatantly interfered with in the corner of the end zone. Like that's not stuff you can orchestrate.
Or when uh what was it, the flag that got picked up when Kennedy Brooks got pile drove after the play was over?
I
The
remember
whistle
what
had
you're
been
talking
blown.
about, but like there's so that night
when
is
he
just
when
a
the
blur to me.
official put his hand up to his ear like that and then walks over and picks up the flag. Ugh. that was a I mean, even the Oklahoma State presser, the people up there in the press box were like, yeah, uh, that was some
And look, I don't buy the whole
I don't either.
conspiracy theory narrative, but
I
you
don't
know,
either.
there are people that think that ref was tapping the earpiece and saying, "Yeah, yes, Mr. Bowlesby."
Yeah, that's what I was getting at. There were some people up there that really believe that up in the press. Like when it happened, that was their instant reaction. That was Bowlesby. That was Bowlesby. I was like, what? Is he like have like a did he have like an earpiece in his ear too? Is them there like he's a CIA agent? Yo. Pick up the flag, damn it. Remember, they're leaving our conference. Screw them over now. No, people, that didn't happen. It sounds great though, doesn't it? And it looks plausible if you go back and you watch it and you actually put it together and you're like, oh yeah, I can see how that would be possible. But you're such a conspiracy theorist if that really is the case. And you're never going to be proved if it's true or not. You can't prove that.
Yeah, and there's so many things that can impact the outcome of a game that are out of your control as a coach.
Yeah.
Like what happens if Caleb Williams makes one more cutback on that long run?
Oh, that long run where
with 30
he
seconds left.
ran out of gas. Yeah.
Or what happens?
But there was a late hit. What did they call a late hit when he was clearly like 5 yards out of bounds and got slammed into the wall? I mean, there's so much.
There are so many ways that game could have turned out completely different than the way it did. I just don't think you can orchestrate that.
So my cousin actually got a concussion, and looking back on it, like as a kid, knowing what we know now, like it's crazy. But he was in, I don't, there might be some people that are watching this YouTube live right now that remember it. It was Woodward versus Broken Bow back in 1995. My cousin Brian Gross, he scored 2 touchdowns in that game. It went into like quadruple overtime or triple overtime. I can't remember. Chad Mead was Woodward's running back, who was a pitcher for Oklahoma on the national title team, I believe. And no, wait. He came after the national title. That's right. He came.
Yeah, I was
after
about to say national title was 1994.
It was 94. So he came the year after the national title to pitch for Oklahoma. Anyways, so and he was drafted by the Atlanta Braves like really high too. My cousin got thrown into the wall on his final touchdown on like a reverse. No, it was his final touchdown. He played the rest of the game, walked over. They had to like help him off the field because he slammed in the head in the wall, got a concussion. They put the vinegar salt in his nose to wake him up, and he sat out for like 2 or 3 minutes, went back in and played the rest of the game. I'll never forget that because it was one of the coolest games I've ever been to in my life. Number one, and number two, just watching him lay lifeless for 2 or 3 minutes while they had to wake him up was, after he got thrown into the wall, was crazy because the wall is so close at Oklahoma State. Like that's crazy. It's just wild. Okay. You're doing the 2.5 and you're taking the under now on the commitment, right?
I will take the under.
Who is on commit watch? Like if Eldrick Hill and gets offered and him and PJ Adibari talk, do you think
that's worth watching? Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely. That is worth watching.
So it could go over then, because what would be another guy to watch? I actually think Michael Pilot Harrison is one to watch too. I don't know why.
I don't know. I feel like he'll want to take more visits, and you can't. If you want to take more visits, you can't commit to Brent Venables and the Sooners.
Right, but I mean, I don't know. It's just his closeness with Cozart. I don't know. I mean, I'm just rolling in my head here. Who do you think?
Samaje Burrell, perhaps.
Yeah,
that's a guy I would watch.
Yeah.
Samuel Omasigo, just because if you look at his offers, OU pretty conspicuously stands out.
And he's a guy that will be a 4-star, top 250 guy before it's all said and done. What about Darian Gouliet?
Yeah, I'm not convinced he'll commit, and the reason being is I think he wants to get up and see Notre Dame from the last conversation I had with him. Fortunate thing is, a lot of these guys will be able to touch base with again the following Sunday, Brandon, when you and I are down at the Under Armour camp in Dallas.
Correct.
A lot of those players are going to be there. So we'll obviously have immediate reactions in the aftermath of the visits this weekend. But once the dust gets a chance to settle, we'll be able to check in with a large number of those guys that are those 2023 players that are going to be on campus this weekend at the Under Armour camp on the 13th.
Jordan Raynaud, I don't foresee him but he's so quiet and keeps everything close to the vest. Like him coming out and just like committing out of the blue, like would not be like the most crazy thing ever. I mean, just because he doesn't tell anybody what's going on with him, like we don't know what's going on with that kid. We just, according to sources, he's going to be in Norman. That's what we have. Because you can't get that kid on record very much. He's a kid that you got to drive down to Tyler, Texas to talk to. Otherwise, you're not going to get hardly anything out of that kid. What about if Williams Nwaneri get Nwaneri? Is that how do you say
Nwaneri.
that? Nwaneri. How do you, God, Nwaneri. Williams Nwaneri. How do you see that if he gets the offer? Like I know he's 2024, but that's your area. That's what I'm asking.
I don't think so. I just think it's too early in the process for him. And if he does get the offer, like in the long run, that's a kid to watch because he's teammates with Kaden Green. His head coach at Lee's Summit North, Jamar Mosey, is an OU guy through and through. And if Oklahoma does see fit to offer Williams at some point, I can see them very quickly becoming a front runner. I just don't think, knowing him and knowing that entire program's dynamic up at Lee's Summit, I don't think any of those guys are going to be in a hurry to make their decisions. We know Kaden Green's going to wait until November, December to announce. I think Williams Nwaneri, especially because the recruiting process is so new for him. He's only played barely half a season of varsity football. Yeah. And so all his offers have just come in like an avalanche. I think he's got 12 Power 5 offers right now, but the vast majority of them came so quickly that he hasn't really had the chance to go and see all that many campuses yet. So I think it's all very new to him. I'm not sure he would jump at the opportunity to commit to someplace like the University of Oklahoma this early in the process, even though it may stand out to him.
Kaden McDaniel is a kid I just want to see what happens when he gets to Norman. Just so much working in Oklahoma's favor with that kid. I don't expect him to do anything, but knowing what we know about everything that's around him in connection to Oklahoma, like if you saw a tweet that said, I've got an announcement to make after this visit, and we knew what that like, would you be shocked? I don't think I would.
No, I wouldn't.
I'm not expecting it, nor do I think Oklahoma's like a leader or, anything like that. But visits do the damnedest thing to kids, and especially ones that have family friends on the team that are like literal family members to you. When you have your Little League quarterback, one of your best friends in the world, as the quarterback committed to the school in Jackson Arnold, when Ted Roof is from North Gwinnett, knows everybody there on that staff and knows Kaden, and when your brother played for Brandon Hall for 2 years, and you've known Coach Hall for 3 or 4 years, there's way too much going there for that kid to not come in and feel super comfortable instantly and like he fits. Like that is going to be just like instant when he walks through the door. And that's how
Jackson Arnold has any say in that recruitment.
He's going to Oklahoma.
It's going to be hard for Kaden McDonald not to end up at OU.
Very true. That's true. Very true. I guess finally, there's a lot of questions on Cole Adams.
No, really?
I don't know what to tell you anymore, guys. So what do you have to say on that, Parker? Because I have nothing more to say.
It's nothing we haven't said before. Like, to me,
it's got to happen at some point.
Yeah, to me, if I am on staff at the University of Oklahoma and I have the authority to make the offer to Cole Adams, I've done it already. I have, just because regardless of whether I feel like regardless of whether I feel like it suits me to see him in person, what am I going to see or not see that Nick Saban didn't see or not see? Like it's that type of offer, the Alabama offer in particular.
But is it a committable offer at Alabama? That's what people will say.
That kind of speaks for itself now, doesn't it? Cole Adams is literally 100th of a percentage point away from being a 4-star in the 24/7 sports composite. There are 358 blue chip players in the country. He is ranked number 364. He's going to get the 4th star at a certain point in time. That is an in-state kid that you already have a natural advantage with. To me, it doesn't make sense to drag your heels any longer. And you know what? I understand. Here's what I'll say. I understand the staff's philosophy if they want to see him in person. I do. I just disagree with it. Because at a certain point, you got to throw that to the wind and say, everybody else is offering this kid. And if we want to get him in Norman, Oklahoma, we need to get on him right now. There is no longer any time to waste. Because if he has a committable offer to Alabama, guess what? He's going to Alabama this weekend, Brandon. And if that offer is committable and he likes what he sees in Tuscaloosa, and he walks into Nick Saban's office and Nick Saban looks him in the eye and says, hey, guess what? Literally every single player that has played 4 full seasons at Alabama under my watch has won a national championship. Come be a part of that. I can literally guarantee you a title. It's going to be really hard for Cole Adams to say no.
Yeah, it is. I have nothing to add to that other than at some point in time, the offer's got to be made. It does. Now, whether it's too little, too late, we're going to find out when that happens, if it happens at this point, because I went from being sold on the fact that I thought it was inevitable to now I'm not sure it's ever going to happen. I'm really not. I don't know why. I think it's going to be one of those Chris McClellan deals where it's too little, too late when it happens.
And if it doesn't happen, it's Braylon Presley all over again. And for years, potentially decades to come, Sooner fans are talking about how in the world that kid managed to play 4 years of prep ball in the state of Oklahoma, do everything that he did, and pick up all the other offers that he did, and not earn any love from the University of Oklahoma, especially when everybody knows that that kid wants to go to the University of Oklahoma. Braylon Presley did too.
Yeah, looking back at it, the Braylon Presley situation, Braylon told me flat out if OU would have offered, he, one day he's
it was an open secret.
Yeah, it wasn't a secret. I mean, like he loves Oklahoma State, loves his brother, wanted to play with his brother, but at the same time, he wanted to make his own mark too a little bit, and that was a way for him to do it. But Oklahoma had at the time, oh my gosh, I just went blank here. They had Raleek. And Raleek and him were viewed as the same guy. So the offer never happened. I'm sure the Oklahoma staff that's still at OU wishes the offer would have happened because they wouldn't have been left high and dry and would have ended up with one of the most explosive players in all of the 2022 class across the country. Finally, before we close this thing down, who is the better back, Barnes or Sawchuk? They're different. Like I hate very that question. Different. They're so different. Like
here's what I will say. In an immediate sense, and I've said this before, but I'll reiterate it. I think Javonte Barnes, with where he's at physically, is more equipped to contribute immediately to the Oklahoma offense. In the long run, it's harder to say. That's where things get murky because I think once Gavin Sawchuk gets a year in a collegiate strength and conditioning room with the natural speed and elusiveness that he has and the nature of his game, one cut, go, beat everybody to the pylon. To me, they both offer a very, very high ceiling at the running back position for Oklahoma. And so long term, I don't know. It depends on their usage. I think a lot of it depends on how they're utilized in Jeff Lebby's scheme and what his design is for each of those guys. Because like you're saying, Brandon, they're different. That it's not an apples to apples comparison with Javonte Barnes and Gavin Sawchuk. But what I do think is, particularly because Barnes is on campus right now, whereas Sawchuk's joined the team in June, and because Barnes is just more physically ready to play college football than Gavin Sawchuk is. I think Barnes will have a more immediate impact. And if I've said it once, I've said it 1,000 times. I think Barnes could have the most impactful season that we've seen from a freshman running back at Oklahoma since Trey Sermon back in 2017. And even going a little bit further back than that, Samaje Perine in 2014. I think that's the kind of year he could have if he establishes himself early as a viable threat out of the backfield, because I don't think Eric Gray is going to be handed that job. I don't think Marcus Major is going to be handed that job. So I really like what Barnes offers in an immediate sense, in the short term. Long term, I think a lot depends on what Jeff Lebby's offense looks like at the University of Oklahoma and how both backs fit into that picture.
Yeah, well, on the Eric Gray Marcus Major deal, DeMarco Murray today spoke just so highly of both of them. I asked about Marcus Major, and there are some high expectations for that guy. They think the world of him. They think the world of his talent. And there's a lot of people that feel like he has a chance to be pretty special if he can put everything together. Eric Gray's taking on the leadership aspect of it all. Eric Gray is explosive. And DeMarco said his exact words today was, it wasn't a secret who the most explosive person on our team was last year, and that was Eric Gray. Just thought he was super explosive. And I totally can see that. Like when you look back at the team last year, yeah, because there were times that Gray would hit that hole and you're like, dadgum, but he would get shoelace tackled. So I think that's something he's got to really work on, because if he ever gets to that point where he's strong enough to fight through a lot of different things, it's going to be scary. To the question of Javonte Barnes and Gavin Sawchuk, I'll put you like this. Like you said, completely different players. Gavin Sawchuk is not going to take it to the house in the aspect or the way that Sawchuk can. Sawchuk has speed that you just don't find on a running back hardly at all, honestly. But Sawchuk's a lot like Chris Johnson. He's going to hit you for 3. 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 And then next thing you know, boom, 88 yards. And he's gone. And he's going to average probably 4.5, 5 yards a carry instead of Javonte Barnes averaging 7 or 8 yards a carry, because Javonte Barnes is going to be the more patient runner. But they're two different guys, and they're going to be able to help each other out, because what one does great, the other one does okay. And that's what's going to make them a great tandem. You know, you're going to have this powerful guy in Javonte Barnes, and you're going to have a guy that has some power in Gavin Sawchuk, but that has this speed that you just cannot teach. And it is elite speed. I mean, he broke records already in indoor 60-yard, didn't he? Or 60-meter? He broke a record. Yeah, national record. The guy can flat fly. So saying one is better than the other, I hate that question, because I think at the end of the day, Sawchuk might end up with more yards in the career because he's going to have those big chunk yards that Javonte Barnes isn't. But as far as like catching out of the backfield and stuff like that, I think Barnes will be a guy that they use. Both of them they're going to use out of the backfield, because I think Sawchuk can catch the ball really well, and he's really good out of the backfield. But Sawchuk's just kind of a different. He's going to remind a lot of people of a smaller version of a Trey Sermon, like you said, or a Ramondre Stevenson. Just kind of, he's just smooth. Everything he does is just real smooth. So I just hate that question. I hate who's better, because they're just so different, and they both have a chance to just be downright special at OU. And I'm a big you're a I'm a Barnes guy, and I love Javonte Barnes, but you know, like I'm a Sawchuk guy. I went out there and saw him a couple times. Like I watched him play and break records in Colorado, break Christian McCaffrey's records, mind you. That's some pretty elite company to be in. Then you have Javonte Barnes over there with Ramondre Stevenson and DeMarco Murray. and he's in their company as a running back out of Vegas. So Oklahoma got probably arguably the best tandem of running backs in college football in recruiting. Pretty good 1-2 punch to follow up the 1-2 punch of Gray and Major.
Yeah, and they'll have another 1-2 punch on top of that in 2023, whether that's Trey Wisner and Justice Haynes or whatever you end up having in that backfield. DeMarco Murray is going to get 2 more good ones, one way or another.
Yep.
All right, Brandon. Give him the spiel and let's get out of here.
All right, guys. Hey, look, with all the recruiting that's going on right now, with the spring practices going on, we're giving away 50% off right now. It's going to last through Monday. So right now you can get, for $50, you get 1 year of OU Insider. Join the other thousands and thousands. I hate saying the number, but it's close to 5 digits. Type of members we have going on right now at ouinsider.com. We would love to have you guys on there. $52 get you 1 year, get you through spring, get you through all these junior days, get you through the official visits in April, May, June, end of July, all the Champion Barbecue stuff, Champion Barbecue 1 in June, Champion Barbecue 2 in July, all the off-season talk, the team talk, the insider notes that we'll be able to have for you on all the team stuff, who's standing out, who's doing this, who's doing that. Obviously, spring practice, spring game, the fall practices leading up into the season and all through the season, through Venable's first season, and both national signing days before it comes to your 1 year comes to the end in March of 2023. So you will get loads and loads and loads of content. We'll be following the softball program. We'll be following the basketball program as Porter Moser continues to build that thing up. The recruiting, we will have note after note after note. Friday or Saturday morning, I will have my way too early chosen 23 class predictions, and I will do that once a month. I bring those class predictions out from here on out, and you'll get to see whether I'm right or I'm wrong. I have all that type of stuff going for you. So Parker has his questionnaires that he does. I do a chat that I'm doing right now, a VIP chat, where you can ask me a question. I go in and answer it. Parker's got a lot of information. We've been traveling. I go all over the country. Parker, with his radio show, he stays in Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, Missouri, Nebraska area, so he can be for his show. But I am everywhere, all encompassing, all over the place, as far as Florida, Georgia, DC, Tennessee, Texas, California, Las Vegas, St. Louis, Chicago. It doesn't matter. We will have you covered. If there's an OU target, we're going to see him face to face before this spring and summer's up, if Oklahoma has a chance to get it. And we will have those updates for you. So come give us a shot. Come join our members. Talk OU football 24/7. We would love to have you. Tell us that you signed up. We also do giveaways during the football season. Lots of giveaways. $100 every month, or free memberships on top of, so you get extended memberships, or we give away tickets to football games. We gave away probably 30 tickets all season to football games, literally 30 tickets to home games this year. So lots of OU Insiders members got free tickets to OU home games. So it's worth the price of admission. Really, it really is. So yeah, $50, $52, get you 1 year right now, 50% off, or you can sign up for 1 month, try us out for $1 and then $9.95 afterwards. We want to thank you guys for being here on this latest rendition of our YouTube live, OU Insider YouTube live. For Parker Thune, my name is Brandon Drumm. You guys have a blessed night.